All right, welcome everybody to the new 5G Go Zone, where we are all about the 5Gs that are your gratitude. What have you got? What are you giving? What do you hope to get? And what's your growth? And we always have a hotspot, which is all about isolating one particular app or question or concern. Now, my personal gratitude today is all about being able to live in the technology world. I just think it is so amazing how in the last even 10 years, technology has helped us grow our businesses and move forward in ways that we never even thought possible. I'm very, very grateful for the technology. And what I have is knowledge of technology. That's what I've got. I have the foresight to be able to see how technology can kind of come together. My give today is to give you any wisdom to answer any questions that you might have. And what I hope to get is actually knowledge myself. I look for knowledge every and any way that I can. And I want to grow this group exponentially. And Lorenzo and I actually have a plan to reach out to a number of people who currently have apps and that they need some help. But even more importantly, I ask you to invite people in for one of three things. Either they have an app and they want to take it to the next level, they have questions, they're in the process of developing an app and they want to work on their launch, or they're using third-party apps to manage their business. They're welcome in here as well because they too need to know how to do that. So let's say they're using Mighty Network or Circle or one of those types of apps. So those are my 5Gs. Lorenzo, you want to share what your 5Gs are?
Sure. Well, I am incredibly in gratitude for all kinds of things. One is that the number of companies, the number of people that I touch every day, every week, and I'm really just thankful to have the opportunity to help serve and be of service. What I've got is, as you alluded to, Nancy, I've got tons of years of experience. And what I'd like to say often is I've learned what not to do. Therefore, I can share quick tips and get us there faster. What my give is the ability to really be uniquely specific and strategic. I have started so many companies. I've done so many things. One of the things I really love helping people is giving them a way of thinking that's different than what they're either familiar with, what they're used to. So my give is strategy and techniques. What I want to get is opportunities to serve. So this is, I'm grateful and be of service. So it's really fun for me. So that's really all I want to get today. I don't have any other expectations. And also my grow opportunity, we want to grow this community. And so one of the things that I've done with Nancy and offline is I've reached out to a team of people that have 102 active users in app business. And we've gotten a green light to start marketing the 5G Go Zone for that community. And so we'll start bringing more people in there. And then last but not least, every one of my clients that has an app, I'm going to invite them into this as a monthly routine. So we haven't done that yet. Part of this is we're just launching into this 2022 timeframe, but we were going to hit it hard. And then the last thing that I want to share with Nancy and the team here and anybody listening is we will have Elevate JV Global, both a community site and court recording and classes and information and everything available in the next 30 to 45 days. And we also have the app as well, which is a brand new app release with some new features and functions that we're happy to share. So we'll do a highlight on that particular app opportunity as we go. So lots of things to share, lots of things to work on, but mostly I'm here to serve. So thank you for asking and thanks for being here, ladies.
Excellent, excellent. So you know what? I would like to start with Melinda. And Tammy, ask your questions as we go, but then we'll also talk a little bit about where your app is at and how we can help you grow that app specifically. So Melinda, we would love to hear from you. We'd like you to walk through the 5Gs. So I'm just going to ask each one for you. My first question is, what are you grateful for? And make sure you unmute yourself. There you go. Yeah. So what are you grateful for?
Oh gosh, grateful for, we say gratitude all the time. I'm going to back up on that one actually. Ryan and I made being grateful and gratitude part of our daily practice way back when we were both laid off at the same time. So we have always, every night before we go to bed, said what we're grateful for. So I'm grateful that I've always had that practice since the beginning, because I think it has attributed to our growth and success over the years and our resiliency to get through all the things that we continue to always be challenged with. It doesn't go away. And to just have that practice. So I'm grateful that I already had that ingrained, because I do believe it's a practice and you need to make a conscious effort to do that. So then it becomes part of your daily habits intentionally. So there you go.
I would agree. And it is amazing when you start practicing gratitude, how natural it becomes and how much abundance you realize that you have, and how grateful you are for even the smallest things, and how that really grows, and how much it impacts your business.
Yes.
That whole attitude of gratitude just completely impacts your business. And we could do an entire conversation on that.
It's really big.
Right. It's a big thing. It's a big thing. And that's why that's number one for us in our 5Gs. So what have you got? Awesome. Tell us a little bit about your app. What have you got?
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know me or even my husband, we are the owners of Good Karma Sportfishing. And Good Karma Sportfishing was built on zero money, just a dream, just my husband's passion to become a very successful charter boat captain, fishing guide, and my belief in him. So again, if you don't know me, I have quite a story. I've written about it. We podcast about it, all those things. So you can definitely fill your boots. But a year and a half ago, well, gosh, almost 2 years, Nancy, right? Yeah. We found each other through a mutual friend, Susan, and with the help of LeVar, as part of our team, came up with our app, and it launched in August of 2020. So it has been just a really great tool. I would say going into it, we knew it was the long game. So that would be my first tip for anyone to understand it's a long game. But if you end up subscribing to our app, you'll see we have reef weather, request a charter, solar, lunar. Our podcast is on there, Ryan's podcast. Video courses, resources, equipment, and a fishing report. So some things are specific to the app only, and then some things you can find, on our website. So there's a little bit of a combination, but that is our app to date, and we're very proud of it. So
that's awesome. And so that actually was your give. What does your app give? And I personally know that my husband loves it on his phone. He listens to the podcast all the time. And we were at a family gathering, gosh, I don't know, maybe 6-8 months ago, maybe even a little longer than that, maybe a year ago. And he mentioned it to his brother, and this app ran like wildfire through all the guys, because big fishing is big in Wisconsin. Well, I'm sure it's big in several areas, but with all the lakes that we have and all the different types. And I guess that's the thing that's really important with your app, is that it doesn't just talk about one type of fishing. It's not just about deep sea lake fishing. It's not specific in that respect. It covers the gamut. So it really is open for a lot of people. Plus, wouldn't you find that, especially with the recommended tools and equipment and stuff, that women might even want this on their app if they're looking to give something to their spouse or their significant other, if they're not fisher people? Because I know women fish just as well. So it's not just strictly a gender thing, right? Right.
Yes. And we have a private Facebook group that we had started before the app. So it was nice to already have that community built. Obviously, it was part of the podcast. And there are several women in the group. And even in our paid private group, there is a female. So yes. So if you are a female, you are more than welcome. Please join our community as well.
Excellent. Yeah. So what do you hope to get today?
What do I hope to get today? Honestly, just the chance to share. I haven't had a chance to be on the call in a while, and I always value our relationship, Nancy. It's been great to get to know some other people in the group too. So saying hello to anyone that watches, and I'm always open for new tips and ideas. I'm always learning. So
Yeah.
I don't believe in the word expert. Like I have a really hard time, like, and I think you and I have spoken about that before. I have a really hard time when someone calls themselves an expert. I'm like, no, we're always all learning. We always have things that we can do to improve our lives and our businesses. So yeah, I'm open for things too. And I learned by other people asking me questions. So feel free. It's great.
Excellent. Excellent. You know, and it's funny because you, Tammy, and I are connected in another area too, which is through the Brilliant Biz Book authoring series. Tammy and Julie mainly is the person Tammy works for, was the author this year, but I know Tammy had a lot to do with that, a lot to make that a #1 best-selling. And so that's where we all kind of come together, because Melinda, you were in #3, was it? You and Ryan? You were in 4. You were in #4.
Yeah, I have to
Number 4.
I have Maggie's book. So yeah.
Yeah.
The purple one. Purple. I always remember it's purple.
The purple one. The amethyst. Yes. And what's nice is that they have an app as well. And so the whole series has an app. So this app world is really kind of come together. So in this short period of time, do you know offhand approximately how many downloads you have, Melinda?
You know what? You probably know better than me, but I did a push last night and I want to say it went to almost 500 people.
The push went to 500 people, but you have over 1,000 downloads.
Nice.
Yes. And so congratulations. And that's just in 1 year.
Yay.
What was one of the biggest things that you did to get those kind of downloads?
You know, it's an ongoing process. So, and I think that is one of the things I really wanted to convey today, because I, as a coach myself and as a consultant, I see that people think that, oh, I can just set it and forget it. And that's just not reality, people. So we are always talking about the app. We are always doing the push whenever Ryan does a podcast or a fishing report, or we launch a new course. You know, whenever we don't want to ever be like kind of annoying. So like once a week is good. So you have to figure out what feels good to you. And Ryan always talks about it on the podcast. He mentions it in the group. He in the paid group, which meets once a month. He always, you know, brings up the app and is trying to always train the group members, however you want to put it, to go to the app to look at things, because people need to be trained. Like you have to, again, make it a habit, make it a practice. So we're always talking about the app. And again, we realize it's, you know, one of those things that grows over time. And so you have to really just embody that. You have to embody that this is a long game. And you always have to just make sure you're talking about it. So I wouldn't say it was like one thing. We obviously did a launch when we launched the app back in August, and really utilized the Facebook group. I think we gave away some prizes. We have stickers and t-shirts and stuff in our business, and really drew stuff in then. But you know, you can't launch every day, right? So then you just really have to make it part of your speak, really. Because what's the average that people need to hear something like 26 times before they like take action or make a purchase?
It used to be seven touches, but I do think you are right. It's a lot more than that now, because there's so much bombarding of noise. There's so many people trying to get your time, get your real estate on your phone, you know, to allow people in. Now, one thing I do know about your app that I really appreciate is the amount of time and way you send out your push notices, because you don't do them at any specific time. There's 2 different strategies. You could have one like the Brilliant Biz Book app sends one out every Thursday at 10 o'clock Central Time, but that's because they just posted a new podcast. And so that's their way. But the other way is to randomly set them out and not too much. So you have no particular pattern. I've noticed that. And that keeps it fresh to me. So when I do go in and I see that notice, it's a reminder to me to be able to say, oh yes, I want to, you know, jump into that app. Now you have about 50% who allow push notices, which I think is really quite good. A lot of people shut off all those notices all the time. But what's nice about the push notice is that for those people who do get it, it's not over the top. You know, it's there. The people who don't get push notices, there's not much you can do about it other than to keep reminding people that your app is there. Talk about your engagement. What do you think your engagement is on your app? Are you getting people to give you feedback, etc.?
Well, you definitely know when something's wrong because I'll tell you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which we just had. So there you go. You know that people are watching when there's something wrong. So I would say that that's just life in the big city. But yeah, so yesterday it's just, I guess, great timing to have this call. We have really made a concentrated effort to focus on SEO this year and blogging. So Ryan did this beautiful blog, and he, in all his Ryanness, clicked the wrong button in WordPress, so it jacked up the podcast. So then I didn't know this. I did the push last night. So then all these people were like, "Your podcast isn't playing, right?" You know. So yeah. So I guess we have some good engagement. So
I love it. I love it. But yeah, and you're right. When something goes wrong, people will speak up. When everything's going right, they're just listening. They're just purchasing, doing the courses, whatever it needs. And you are able to keep your app fresh by having these different content pieces.
Yeah. I think that's really important. Yeah,
it is. It is. I believe you can also link your blog to the app if you want. And
we've talked about that. So that is Ryan. We talked about it last week because, we adore LeVar, nothing wrong. But we're like anything. And we feel this way too about, Brandon with the website is like anything we can figure out and learn. Like we want to be able to do that. So Ryan was like, I think I can just figure out how to add the blog to the app by himself. So we just haven't gotten there because there's only one major blog. I mean, these blogs are like major SEO driven blogs. So,
exactly.
So yeah. So, and then the podcast tying into that. So there's a whole strategy with using these tools together. So, but anywho, yes, I'm with you.
Yeah. And just to kind of send you in the right path, adding your blog to your podcast or to your app is just like adding your podcast. It's a URL link. It's an RSS feed link. It's just a matter of having that piece on there.
Right, onto the screen. Yeah.
Obviously, to reach out to us if you need a little bit of help to do it, but that's not a complicated one. And it's a very, very good one because all roads lead back then to the app, especially if you're mentioning it in your blog. And it allows people to be very focused on your app instead of them necessarily trying to search you on the web just to read the blog. If they've got it right there, you can see, and then they can start to read the other blogs as well. So it's just a matter of linking. And that's the beauty of this, is that when you do this, just like you're doing with your podcast and you're linking, you don't have to post your blog in 5 different places to get it seen where you want it to see. You post it on your website, it links into your app. You then are sharing it on social, where that can be done automatically as well, so that all roads lead back. And having a good SEO on your website also helps you have a good SEO on your app. And I don't know if a lot of people realize this, but even just having an app in the Google store helps your SEO when the names are all linked in the, they can realize that that's who you are, because on your store listing will have your goodkarma.com, it'll have the URL for it. And Google does the ranking. So Google sees, oh, you're using one more tool of ours. You're validating them one more time. So even that alone just helps your SEO, which is just phenomenal. So that is definitely a good thing. When you first launched, did you do anything like just social posts? Did you do lives? Did you talk in the group? What was some of your strategies when you first launched?
Yeah. So I want to say we gave ourselves a couple weeks and we did a soft launch. And Ryan definitely talked about it in the podcast. And then we did a lot of Facebook Lives. So back then, because the landscape has changed so drastically, Facebook Lives were still kind of a thing. Like people had time for them. And plus it was during COVID too. So we did probably once a week a Facebook Live for about 3 weeks. And then we did a Google Doc survey where we asked for, what would you like to see? So we had a lot of engagement at that level, being a year and a half ago. Now I don't know, because I do believe the ocean has changed as far
Right.
as so much content out there and people in their time. But back then it did work. So we did give, we had some drawings, and we had really like a little launch party in a way. I think we did. We had like a launch party Facebook Live. So we did utilize podcasts and Facebook.
Well, and you're right, the real estate has changed somewhat. You can do pre-recorded videos now, short videos, turn them into ads. There are ways to keep the social engagement. But let's talk about your current clients. And actually, I'm going to have Lorenzo kick in here for just a second. It sounds like you did a contest. Lorenzo, what's the power of a contest in getting your app to be shared?
Well, there's lots of things to consider. I guess I do have some core questions, but let me just kind of do a little explainer conversation for a second. So there's three ways to really grow your app from my perspective, quickly and effectively. Certainly one is a contest that gives that has some sort of giveaway or creates awareness and that people can share. By having a contest and the ability for them to share, then there's again the value in your existing community saying, hey, we love this, let me share something because there's a contest, and talk about that, right? Even if it's something around how to create a fishing contest, a course, a class around something like that. The other major area to grow your business is through the concept of a quiz. And the reason that I say that is because a quiz can actually, with the right technology, can actually drive people into your app, drive people to downloads, and drive people to how can we serve them. So one of the things that I would recommend today, Melinda, is as we were talking, you can do a relaunch, but basically a relaunch through a quiz. And a quiz is basically, how can we serve you, right? And be based on your, and I don't know your website and I don't know your app details, but I know that generically there's at least 3 or 4 different places that with the right question placed on your website with a quiz button says, hey, what's your most interesting area of fishing? What's the most interesting area of the way we could serve you? Literally, you're asking them to tell you how you can serve them. Having those answers sort of pre-prepared will then drive them to your website, which then drives them to creating more value for you. And then maybe even driving them to a particular part of your app. Say, hey, download the app. This is in our app in this particular podcast, right? So if you start to repurpose your information, you can do that through a quiz on your website. That's sort of option number 2, just again, create general conversation. The third thing is through JV partnerships, and that is the ability to find people that are in your space that love your business, love your industry, and that are willing to refer you. And this, in case, is in exchange for one of 2 things: either exchange for sharing your mailing list or sharing the referrals that come into you, or sharing revenue. Like if you say, hey, look, you know what, we're trying to expand our audience, expand our app community, because it sounds like you have community, sounds like you have courses, then a JV partnership launch would be, how do we create relationships where we could do revenue share as a part of our business? Because that's a huge way to get leverage right away, early on, depending on what you have, right? Again, there's some open questions here, but that's a third way. And then a fourth way, and actually, interestingly enough, one of my clients has unique lists that you can be purchased on a global basis, a national basis, or US and Canada. And that's a niche around specialties. And so another area would be kind of fun is introduce you to somebody in collaboration that already has a list opportunity that you might either use or leverage for marketing purposes, or vice versa. You actually might use them to say, hey, we want to create a list about sports fishing or fishing in general, and collaborate on creating a list of communities, fishing spots, something maybe specific to what you guys do today. So there's just so many different ways to take your current situation and expand it, extend it. And so those are things I would be talking about. But all of those can have leverage points, and really is what you need is other eyes, ears, and voices speaking on your behalf. So that's just a couple of quick snippets around things I would be thinking about, I would be talking to you about.
Yeah, exactly. And in particular too, Melinda, you have the gear, the equipment purchasing, and I know you have some relationships with the people that Ryan proposes or supports their particular type of gear. And that might be a really great spot to go. Plus, I would consider doing push notices around the different varying holidays that people purchase gifts. because that would be a great spot to drive them to your app, download it. And, I don't know how you can position possibly even some type of a coupon or something like that. I'm not sure if that's possible with the way those are set up, but the idea is to drive them to the app to be able to then hit that link and go out. So I know you've got some JV partnerships already kind of built and established. And I think that would be really, really good, especially if you could also find other groups that are, fishing groups that would then be a way to say, hey, here's a good resource, because your app is free. So it's not like you're asking people to pay. But I do want to circle back to the fact that you already had a community built. And I want to talk about that a little bit. How important did you find having that community built to having a very successful launch when you were ready to go full launch, not just the soft launch?
Mm-hmm. And I have two different ways to think about this. One is based on Ryan and I's business, Good Karma Sportfishing, and one is based on my coaching and consulting business, which I had put on the back burner because as I was building the sport fishing business with my husband, because I'm really the wizard behind the curtain, if you want to say, with Good Karma Sportfishing, and he's the face and does the actual fishing. I had a very successful sales business, so I wasn't online, right? So I have two different perspectives as far as building an audience. So it was why I'm going to share this is because I don't want people to be discouraged, because I think, unfortunately, there's too much very narrow context out there and not enough wide view. Mm-hmm. So yes, it was very helpful that we had an established audience based primarily on the podcast and how successful my husband is as like a local kind of celebrity. He was on the cover of Florida Sportsman in July of 2018, July of 2018. We had several articles written about him in magazines. The podcast obviously was huge. He's booked every day. The website that I redesigned at the time back in 2018. So that was all like really good. So we had 2 years of solid foundational building before launching the app. So that was really good. However, my point is too, is like, don't let that hold you back on getting started. Like if you want to get started with something, if you have like zero audience or very small audience, like I did then when I launched my business 3 years ago, but really fully went for it last year when I wasn't a sales rep anymore and I had the time. Start any day, and just do it. Like do the work with excitement and passion and learn and grow, and just don't worry about all that, because all it takes is a couple really good clients for whatever field you're in and you're good. So I think all this focus on size of audience and all these things, it really depends on what your business model is, what you're trying to achieve, and just what makes you happy. So really think about, I'm going to say this to everyone out there, like what makes you happy, what makes you feel good, and like what are your goals and what are you trying to achieve in this lifetime on this earth? Because it might not be necessary to have 2 million followers. Like you can still build a successful business, and if your app really needs only like 100 people to serve the purpose of what you're trying to do, then that's great. So take the time to think about what you're looking to achieve versus trying to fit into a mold of, what someone else has built, because it might not be relevant to what you're trying to do.
I think you have a very good point there about going out to the wider view and that you're correct. Every app is a little different.
Every app's different. It's crazy, right?
It's
fascinating.
We have one app that's actually very successful that only has about 30 downloads, but it's the type of business that they're in that makes it very successful. It's actually in an asset management business, and it's not just geared for his own customers, but for the most part, that's the focus. And so, yes, he's very successful with 30. And yet, if you heard that, you would be like, 30 people, that's it. Well, it's not like he's a coffee shop that needs 5,000 people to be able to make the same type of an income and to call it successful. So I do think you're onto something with the wider view. You're also onto something with the balance. You had to make a choice to balance what you were going to do at that time and focus there. And then once the app launched and got successful, I mean, it took a while. It took a good 9 months, maybe even a year. And then you circled back into your business. Not that you neglected your business, but you didn't give it the focus and attention that I see you giving it right now. And now the two have come together in a balance. So that is really, really awesome. And I want to be mindful of our time, and I want to give Tammy a option to speak. And I see, Tammy, you just asked a question about what do I mean by downloads? Those are the number of users that have your app on the phone. So that's the piece. And Melinda's goal for growth right now, I didn't even ask that question, but I'm guessing is in the next 12 months to hopefully double what you've already done and to go forward in the growth method. So that was your last. As long as we're
seeing growth, like as long as we're just always like 1%, you know, like it just compounds. And, you know, I just challenge people not to focus so much on that. Just do the work and be happy and do the work. And then all of a sudden you'll be like, holy shit, 2 years later, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. So but you have to do the work. So.
Exactly. So Tammy, jump in a little bit. How is your app going? What is it that we can help you with today?
I feel like even though we've had ours for a while, it's really not taken off because we haven't had an opportunity to really work on it. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of turnover in our Racine office. So Luke has been focusing more on helping out with the front desk and all that stuff. So he hasn't been able to help out a lot with this because we're kind of tag teaming on the types of marketing that we're each working on. So he got the lucky task of working on the app. So, and he's been really good at making updates and stuff like that when I've requested it. But as far as like the actual promoting it and stuff like that, he hasn't had the opportunity, and I haven't either. But I think we've finally just got someone that I think can help out more in the office. So he should be able to focus more on marketing and the app and everything after tax season is over. So, and we've got a nice new space set up there. So when I come into town, we can work together in one quiet space. And I think it should start taking off more now once we're through April. So
excellent.
But, I guess my question would be what would be for like our type of industry, what would be the best way to try to get the word out there and just try to get more downloads? Because I think we have very few, and I think a majority of them are staff members.
Well, my first question to you would be, Tammy, is how are you leveraging your app with your current clients? And then how can you leverage the app for, again, additional clients? Right. So one of the things about an app or in general, the marketplace is people need and want more information as long as it's clean, clear, crisp, and available. And so, you know, in the app business, the common thread amongst all app owners is you're sharing some kind of information or some sort of value. And so what I would be, and I basically, by the way, I'm a recovering accountant. I have a degree in accounting and master's of business. So I started out as a controller. So here I am now fishing with Melinda and her husband. Because, by the way, did you notice it just random? I'm in a fishing background. I got a fishing shirt and I'm in purple. Like, well, you couldn't have asked for a better, hitman here talking about fishing, because I'm wearing all those things right now.
And for the record, Melinda, Lorenzo didn't know your app or why you were coming. Yes.
This is spirit working in a weird sort of way. For those of you who believe in things happening, I had no effing idea. Oh, that was not a slip. Sorry. So anyway, let's go back to Tammy.
We gotta have some fun
here. So here's the thing. If I'm fishing in the accounting world, I'm doing a couple things. One is I'm creating. So Melinda talked a lot about a blog. So one of the things, Tammy, I think is going to be hugely important there's so much change in the accounting and the business world now, and with COVID and regulations, that I would do a podcast, even if it's monthly, that says, hey, here's the latest information that you need to be aware of, even if it's factual on what's coming, right? Because most people in the accounting world, especially the individuals that are really interested in this information, they like to know what's happened and what's coming, right? So to me, I would put a lot of energy around how do you create that piece of information, and that's audio. And in your apps, you can have audios, you can have players, and so that's a audio podcast. The second thing that I started with is I really love to see your current users get some value. And the question about what does that look like? Now, I've got several people that I know in the business, and several clients that do accounting and tax work, including my own accountant, right? And so what I talk to them about is just creating a connection to downloading the latest documents, downloading the latest information. So because the government and the websites today have all these different forms and all these different tools, I would make your app a repository for that information on again, and I like seasonal, what Nancy was saying, on a seasonal basis. So in the the beginning of the year, you guys send out tax bulletins, right? You send out information like, get ready, here's the things you need to do. I would start driving people into your app and saying, if you download this and make it available, then you can get an appointment or you can get something. So create a little gamey / a little bit of value proposition and downloading the app so they get something different by having themselves mobile, right? And again, I don't know enough about your business and your clients or your audience, but these things all do work regularly. And then the other thing is and I love what Melinda did, is you've got to get into the push notification business. Because whether you're in your case, you're in the proactive information business, you need to be sharing people with that. So those are just some quick random thoughts, if you will, on ways that I would take your app and move it forward. And then that's the existing base. Then I would go out and offer consultation. So one of the things that is a win for almost every business is some sort of 15-minute consultation around how to do better tax benefits or tax tips, or are you paying the government too much money? And again, I don't know whether your accountancy is conservative or more aggressive, but at the end of the day, people don't like to pay taxes if they don't have to. So tax tips around that would be really helpful. Like Melinda's going to go, I don't know what I can write off in this fishing business, but I'm sure like to know. And so for me, even niche that, Tammy, with your area of expertise. Like equine is my tax accountant started out in the horse and business and the equine business, where he provides specific benefits to them. So you might have a niche that you're really good at, and just start there to create the rhythm. And I'll stop in a second, to create the rhythm of sharing information. Because if you know a lot about it, it's easy. It feels more confident, right? And what Melinda's been talking about with her progress, she's doing because she's confident, she's in gratitude, but she just knows their material because they knows fishing, right? Her husband knows fishing. So just find that little niche that creates that rhythm, that the techniques you have start to create. And then the big enchilada tip here, the pro tip is then rinse and repeat. Do it over and over again. So whatever you find that works, just keep doing it over and over again, and then expand, and maybe even expand to people inside of your audience in your office. Say, this office does this work, and this, and I have an author. It's almost like, like Cammie's Corner. Like I'm going to talk about this. So lots of information I shared there, and I'm doing it primarily for you and for the audience listening. Is there's just lots of ways to think differently about taking your core content and repurposing it and making it available more proactively. So Nancy, I'll turn it back to you as far as other thoughts around that.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you've said. And Tammy, you're doing a lot of positive things. First of all, you can upload documents right from your app. And I think that's critical, that you start to get your existing clients to know that that's how they can upload their documents. I realize they can also do it from their desktop, but case in point, today I had to submit a form and it needed a copy of my driver's license and a copy of my social security card. Not a big deal, but I was doing it from my tablet. And so instead of me trying to scan them in, then go to my desktop, then retrieve the form again, etc., it gave me an option just to snap a picture and scan it with my phone and upload it. So, or in this case, it was my tablet, but the phone would have been the exact same way. So right. You've made it convenient. The other thing that you've done, and you can set this up so simply, you have listed the calendar when things are due, when taxes are due, when quarterlies are due, when is the last day for this and that. You could set those all up as push notices. So that you could do. You could set them up as push notices and be able to, there we go, there's Janae. And so then you could set them up as a push notice to remind people that they're coming. Because isn't there one that's coming like next week, the 15th? Isn't that a business tax day is the 15th, right, of March?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So how many business people actually realize that, especially if it's their first year of taxes?
Right.
So you could be doing this, and you could also be having an entire corner with Julie and have all of her knowledge and just do what like 2-minute bites and put that into the app as well. So there's a lot of things that you can do, but the biggest thing that I would do is I would start with 2 things. I would start with every single accountant that you have or assistant who speaks with a client and verbally ask them to download the app, because they can schedule an appointment. That's coming soon. That's not too far off or hard to do. Or they can also upload their documents and see the calendar. And if you ask them to invite it, they will do it. By adding your QR code onto your background like you've done, you can also add that onto every email. I think you are. And that can be united for everybody going out. And then also, as you're building your email list of your existing clients, start sending out the invite, especially when it comes time to tax season. But that's the other thing that's really important. You are not just about tax season. That's not who you are. So you need to keep that type of engagement. Now, you brought up a very good point. You've had the app now for a couple of years, and it hasn't really grown. That doesn't mean that you abandon it. You can do a launch anytime. Anytime you can say, you know what, this is our tool, we're picking it up. It's kind of like having a LinkedIn profile and never posting. And then one day you start posting and nobody, they love it. Nobody noticed that you didn't do it for 2 years beforehand. They just see that you're active now. Okay. And LinkedIn is the spot where I would really promote your app in a big way, because that's where your business people are. And ultimately, that's your ideal audience. Yeah, you take care of the mom and pop who do their taxes as well, but your long game is with a business person who can then come in and do their bookkeeping, who can do their payroll, who can do, the different accounting tasks that they need done, especially if they're doing loans. When the whole pandemic hit, you did a great big thing about loans and being able to get the SBA loans and all the grants and stuff. You were helping people left and right. And don't forget the volunteer work that Julie does. That's a big thing. Your whole firm is very big on that and promoting it and getting your app in the hands with these volunteers. And you could actually leverage some of these groups to help promote your app. So I know you've done some work with Habitat, you've done work with the Rotary, you've done work with a number of different groups. And that can be one way that you can leverage that as well. So have we bombarded you with enough today on what to do?
You have.
Go ahead.
I know I have, I sent out an email blast to people asking them to download the app and like really focusing on being able to download their documents. I did that right before tax season because I felt like that was the best time to do it. And then I also reached out to our staff and provided them with the QR code and the one link and asked them to do it as they were speaking with their clients and preparing them. And as they started getting phone calls with, because we'll usually have clients ask what they need to bring in, even though we send them a checklist every year. Mm-hmm. But so they have a lot more contact with the clients. So I've asked them to do it. Whether or not they've done it, I'm not sure. I think a lot of them think they're so busy that they don't stop to do that kind of stuff.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, it's super busy, and we are getting a lot of new clients. So that's a good thing.
Good. That's your end game, right? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you, real quick, do you send anything through the mail, like postcards or a letter?
We have not. Aside from the organizers, which helps them gather their documents to complete their taxes.
Yeah. Have you ever explored it? a postcard or alternating between a postcard and a letter, like every other month or once a month?
We have not done that yet.
I'm just thinking as a consumer,
Mhm.
and there are just way too many emails out there in general. So it's easy to do. So it's not like you should abandon it. We did abandon the newsletter for the fishing. We did, long story, but it was fine that we did, and it hasn't hurt our business at all. But if I were in your lane, I would look at postcards. Hey, we just added this feature. Did you know our app can do this? You know, and then just have, because if I was a busy person who wanted your service, I might not read the email, but if it's sitting on my counter, I'd be like, oh wow, okay, cool. Like, it's just a different way of like thinking and reading. And mail the old fashioned way cuts through. I'm sorry, it does.
Yeah.
So,
I guess, yeah, that makes sense because so much is electronic these days. I hardly ever get any mail in my regular mailbox.
and it's
So
exciting to get mail. You're like, oh my God, look at this beautiful postcard. You know,
Right.
it's different than,
Yeah.
oh, another email blast. I don't have time for that. Delete.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so just something to consider. It's not, you know, very
Yeah, thank
expensive
you.
or hard to do that. So
Yep. And the one thing that I would highly recommend is do one thing. And then in a week or so, pick another thing,
Okay.
etc. So we'll check your analytics to see how your downloads are coming along. I haven't looked, so I will do that and let you know, especially since you've done the blast. Let's see how they've progressed
Okay.
and if you've gotten some activity. I do see, I do believe that you have gotten some off of those. Now, just because you did it once does not mean that's the last time you do it.
Right.
I want to say, Melinda, you've done things more than one time and gotten their attention. So it's really important to keep it going. So
I think that the thing that, to reiterate, Nancy, is that the fact that we talked about, in the old days, you could, 7 to 10 touches. Now it's in the, 20 plus touches. So even if Tammy and your group is doing mailings or email or, did you know, it's creating that mind space when they actually need it is when they're going to remember it, right? So because of the noise out there. So find a rhythm. Again, the rinse and repeat concept is do it where you can regularly see progress. And then by definition, you're doing your own value proposition. So as you're adding different value or value statements in your, whether it's a postcard, whether it's an email, or whether it's to your current clients, you see what's working and you can see little spikes, as Nancy's kind of alluding to in the download. So I just encourage people to be consistent and social media marketing. We talk about that all the time. You have to just be consistent, whether it's app marketing, social marketing, just consistent brand awareness. And I like the just for the 2 cents worth, I like the nonprofit angle. If you're going to do more nonprofit work, what a great way to say, hey, download our app and we're doing this and we're doing donations, or download the app and we'll help your charity, or give us a name a charity that we can work with. Right. So get your community to give into you, right, using the 5G methodology, right? What are they what are you gratitude for about your taxes or tax work? You just got to start thinking a little bit differently when you can. And I know, Tammy, that's part of your journey, and you have the bandwidth, because all this is about conversation. It's all great, but you got to have the resources and the mind share to do it. So I respect where you are today. So just
and that actually brings a really good point. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Now, if you are going to work with a marketing firm, they'll be very selective, and you might even want to talk to us first before you jump in with a marketing firm, because we have an opinion. And I've had clients get in with a marketing firm that did not bode well, and they took thousands of dollars from them with no results. So there's things to look for and ways to do it.
Yeah,
So
I've been working with Maggie.
Oh, good. Okay,
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Yep. Excellent. So Janae, hey, welcome. You're on mute.
I'm sorry. Hey, Nancy.
Hey, listen, you've got to catch this replay because Melinda shared a bunch of wisdom. You don't know Melinda, you've not met, but she's our alumni who worked with us over the last 2 years and has grown her app exponentially in just a very short period of time. So definitely grab the replay. But did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, you said marketing firm. Do you think that's something that What's Next would benefit from or no?
Not yet.
Of course not yet, but
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm saying in the long run.
yes, you might. And Lorenzo and I know of a number of different tools and stuff that we might be able to help you leverage without having you spend the whole bank load. I joke not when I tell you that this client was spending over $1,500 a month to launch a brand new business, and that just was not economical nor wise. So yeah, we can talk about some strategies to help you get there before you do that, and some tools and things that you can leverage. If anybody has not looked yet, but on AppSumo regularly, they're coming up with AI generators to help you generate blogs. I would scope them out and check them out, because if you're new to blogging, it's something that will help you go to the next level. The beauty of an AI builder with a blog is that it gives you the base. You still need to read it. You still need to change it into your words. It cannot just be automatic, let it write, let it print. You still got to read through it and make sure that it's something that would be said the way that you would say it. So, but anyway, I know we're coming up close to the top of the hour. Does anybody have any last words or questions or anything else that they want to share before we part ways today? Are we good? Anything last minute, Lorenzo?
Just that I would say that, I'm sorry, I didn't remember the name of the person last spoke.
Janae?
Janae, yeah, Janae, you need a hotspot. There's a fisherman. Yes. You need a hotspot. So you need to, put yourself on the line here, and we'll help you out, give you some tips and tricks.
Yep.
Okay,
yep.
I definitely want to. I've been trying to wait till we were close to being finished, and Nancy knows that it's a struggle right now. So
yes, it definitely is. But no, Janae, keep coming in here. This is what it's all about, and we'll help you build your strategy. And you and I will have a see offline as well. So wonderful, wonderful. Well,
Ryan, I just want to thank Melinda and her husband for the work that they've done over the last couple of years. And I would actually ask you also to share your tips and tricks around your community and what worked and what didn't work, because that's one of the things that we would love to hear from you again. What worked and what didn't work in your process of building out, right? What price points, all those things that seem to stick. I'd love to hear those things the next time we chat.
Yeah. Excellent. Yes. Thank you, Melinda, for your wisdom sharing today. It was greatly appreciated. I know everybody will find value in it. And with that, we will be back next month on the second Tuesday. So everybody go off and have an absolutely fabulous day. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.